This is JP with Political Pop Culture, and this is my take. I'm recording this on the morning of January 7th, 2021. I had planned on getting an episode of my take done yesterday. In fact, I had decided the previous evening that I was going to do my take on January 6th as something lighthearted and fun, because I knew everyone was going to be talking about politics on the 6th. And I wanted to do something a little more positive while everyone else was arguing. I tried to get an episode done yesterday, but after the breach at the U.S. Capitol, the words, they just wouldn't come. You know what? That's not accurate. If I'm being completely honest with you, and honest is something that I promise I'm always going to be with you, I had plenty of words. The problem was they kept coming together in the form of a rant. I was angry. I mean, like blood pressure up, handshaking, yelling at the computer screen angry. Let me explain. I spent a fair amount of time during 2020 angry. Okay, who didn't? It was a stupid year, right? But what I mean is I spent a lot of time during 2020 angry about what was happening across the country. We saw largely peaceful protesters wreaking havoc from one side of this country to the other, from New York to Minneapolis, St. Paul, from Chicago to Seattle. Hell, even Beverly Hills was looted by thugs. Do you know insurance claims related to social unrest, claims just from the 2-week period between May 26th and June 8th, 2020, are estimated to be over $2 billion. And this violence, this unrest, was fomented by radical politicians on the left. Politicians like Nancy Pelosi.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
Politicians like that lunatic Maxine Waters.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
And politicians like the Vice President-elect Kamala Harris.
Clear that I know that there are protests still happening in major cities across the United States. I'm just not seeing the reporting on it that I had
that's right.
for the first few weeks.
That's right. But they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop. And they're not, this is a movement, I'm telling you. They're not going to stop. And everyone beware, because they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And everyone should take note of that on both levels, that they're not going to let up, and they should not. And we should not.
Did you see the absolute joy, the glee on her face when she started talking about protesting? It's disgusting, and it's sad. The left spent 4 years actively encouraging their fringe base to take to the streets, to harass, to confront, to be as offensive and as obnoxious as possible. And then there was Portland. I touched on this the other day, but in 2020, we were witness to media complicity that we have never seen before. Virtually every major news outlet kept insisting the riots were largely peaceful. Yeah, well, by that logic, the media should also say that a domestic abuser is largely peaceful if he only beats his wife on the weekends. It's just stupid, and it's untrue. The months-long protests, riots, civil unrest, whatever you want to call it, was anything but peaceful. Scores of businesses were vandalized, looted, or burned down. Countless people were injured. Close to 1,000 people have been arrested in Portland. Lives have been destroyed, innocent lives. That is not only not peaceful, it is the literal definition of violence. Yeah, that's all annoying and all, but what does it have to do with my not recording my take yesterday? Everything. Just because the Political Pop Culture channel is new doesn't mean that me having a take on things is new. Rest assured, I have been vocal about my thoughts and feelings on myriad subjects for years. Only until now, my audience has generally been limited to my dogs, who really don't pay that much attention, and they give virtually no feedback. Well, my thoughts and feelings about the civil unrest in Portland were the cause of many quizzical looks from the dogs over the last few months. The behavior of the rioters and the looters in Portland and everywhere else was reprehensible. But the disingenuous media coverage, which minimalized the actions of those committing the crimes, that was abominable. I thought, at least this seems to be confined to the fringe left. Regular people, for the most part, aren't out there rioting, and it's the left wing, the fringe left wing, that's out there causing the problems and destroying property. I even tried to find humor where I could, saying things like, well, at least you know the conservatives aren't out there rioting. They have to get up and go to work in the morning. Maybe it wasn't funny, but at least it was a little comforting knowing that at least one side of the political spectrum was able to act like grown-ups.
They broke the glass? Everybody stay down! Get down!
November 6th, 2012. That was the first time in my life that I have ever been not only embarrassed, but also ashamed to be an American. You see, after 4 years of damaging our economy, after 4 years of vilifying hardworking men and women who give everything every day to build their small businesses, after 4 years of undermining our position of strength around the globe, the majority of voters chose to re-elect Barack Obama, a man who I believe will be viewed in the future to be one of the worst presidents in American history. I was ashamed that day because as Americans, we made a horribly poor choice. January 6th, 2021 marked the second time. I was ashamed yesterday. I was ashamed and I was embarrassed and I was angry. I have no desire to see Joe Biden elected president, but that doesn't give me or anyone else the right to take the actions that we saw at the Capitol building. How can people who profess to revere and cherish our Constitution act in a manner that is so blatantly unconstitutional? I called out the protesters, the rioters, and the looters over the summer, and I will call out the false patriots who stormed the Capitol, destroyed property, and terrorized elected officials. To not do so would be hypocrisy, and I am not a hypocrite. If you spoke out against the protests over the summer, you damn sure better be speaking out against what happened at the Capitol too. If, on the other hand, like the vast majority of the media, like Nancy Pelosi, like Kamala Harris, like Maxine Waters, like so many left-wing politicians, pundits, commentators, you downplayed or even condoned the actions of the protesters over the summer, then you shut your damn mouth. If you didn't call out the actions then, or even worse, if you encouraged them, then you don't get to act all outraged now. You don't get to admire one group's actions while admonishing another. That is hypocrisy. Damn it. This is what happened yesterday, too. I started going off on a rant. Well, what do you expect? I'm angry. I'm embarrassed. And I'm ashamed. Just like all good Americans should be today. That's my take. Is my anger righteous or self-righteous? Let me know in the comments or by joining the cult at Pol Pop Cult on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks for listening.